Hello, everybody. Dave Neal here, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor in Paradise, a guy's review. Last night was episode 6 of Bachelor in Paradise, Monday night, and tonight we'll have the next episode, the follow-up to last night's dumpster fire. We're going to get into everything that went down and, of course, discuss in greater depth some of the issues that we see. As we know, Bachelor, the show, whether it be Bachelor in Paradise, Bachelorettes, Seniors Bachelor, Listen to Your Heart, whatever the Bachelor show may be, Bachelor Pad, Winter Games, I don't even know anymore. Teen Bachelor, who knows what's going to come out next? Wow, would you watch that? That's creepy. Whatever the show may be, it is the final sort of water cooler case study for us to discuss some of life's issues, some of which just don't get enough attention across the board. So we're going to get into those. Do me a favor, like this video, subscribe to get updates on future content. We'll have live streams later on tonight after the next episode of Bachelor in Paradise. And I'm going to highlight the issue of colorism in today's video. And I know what you're thinking, Dave, you don't have any color. You're so white. Look at the under of your eyelids. They're so white, right? Here's the deal. Discussing colorism and listening to people of different, that might look differently than me, and hearing their different journeys that they go on in life, that's what growth is all about. I couldn't possibly understand how colorism plays into The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, The Bachelor in Paradise, unless we hear from those voices that follow the show and sort of do the work of explaining it in a way that we can put ourselves in other people's shoes. So we're going to do just that, okay? And that's because, people say, oh, Dave, this isn't your topic to tackle. I think it's a topic for society to tackle. And I think it's important, sunlight's the greatest disinfectant, to just make light or shine light onto issues you and I might not be aware of. As we know, social media can be very segregated. It's sort of an echo chamber. You get to see things that don't challenge your beliefs, and the algorithms, the numbers, and all the calculations behind social media will keep showing you things that give you comfort. And the beauty of The Bachelor is that the people who watch it come from a wide variety of life. Just yesterday on my live stream, we got a voicemail from Nigeria, Pakistan, some other, Slovakia was watching, all over the world, really, guys. And that's a good thing because it's a chance for us to share different stories and highlight when we see things that do not look like they line up. Now, obviously, people have been critical of the Bachelor producers. They just finally hired their first African-American executive producer. They have not done a good job with Matt James as the first black lead. And of course, Rachel Lindsay completely disowning herself of the show, disowning herself from the show. Either way, they have dropped the ball on some of these complicated issues to tackle. The Bachelorettes posted this: watching black women being violated in any capacity is trash, not entertainment fodder. The open disregard, disrespect, and disposal of Natasha tonight reminds us of why we're here in the first place. We love you, Natasha Parker. Stay up, sis. Of course, this is in reference to Natasha Parker was dating Brendan on the show, and Brendan was basically just biding his time until Piper showed up, a younger cast member on the show. So we'll get into all that. I'll read a few more clips from this Instagram here. But first, this is what's going on. Tons of people are unfollowing both Piper and Brendan over this ordeal. Tons of people are following Natasha. She's got over 100,000 new subscribers. That is just wild in just the last 12 hours. Meanwhile, Brendan and Piper's following count is hemorrhaging and just falling off by the minute. Danielle, a former contestant, said this: Instagram business is a total numbers game. Every like, follow, comment, save, and share creates engagement. The more engagement, the more money you get to post. Put that energy on influencers you resonate with and unfollow those who don't. It's that easy. If you care more about followers than you do about people, self-reflect on your priorities. So the deal is this. You can leave hateful comments and people post all you want, but we vote with our dollar. If there's a company you don't like, don't complain about Walmart and continue to shop there. Do the work to find other places to support, because that's kind of like the free market we live in, where we're trying to uplift small business owners, minority business owners, try to help out people that didn't get the same start in life that some others may have gotten. And that's kind of what this all comes down to. So give me a second here while I adjust some things, but we're going to get into what has been said by different Instagram accounts. Apologies here. So Black Bachelor Babes, Black Batch Babes here has posted some good things regarding the show. Oh, sorry, I clicked on the wrong thing here. Give me a second, folks. So they have a post here regarding last night's episode. Black Batch Babe said this: a darker-skinned woman being taken advantage of, gaslit, and passed over for a light-skinned woman is very triggering. We have been dealing with colorism in scripted and reality TV for years, so it shouldn't be a shock to anyone that a show that struggles with diversity would still perpetuate this stigma. Natasha deserves better. While it may be true that Natasha knew more than she was letting on with regards to whether or not Brendan and Piper were together, we still don't know all the facts there. It doesn't mean she signed up for this kind of treatment. Do not diminish her pain based on assumptions of acting. Even if everyone was in on this gag, we still just witnessed a black woman get dragged by a white man and no one protected her. Whether she knew more or not, Natasha's kindness was used against her by production, Brendan both, and that part will never sit right with us. So a lot of people, I think the standard pushback would be this, and this isn't my point of view, but this is a standard pushback that people would have, is go, oh boy, we're really going to pull the race card here. You know, that's what people say, oh, we're pulling the race card. That's like the term, right? And that's very ignorant and doesn't show compassion to what actually is going on. Colorism might be a new word that you and I have not really heard much of in the past, but it goes back hundreds of years. Okay, so the idea of colorism existing, a quick definition: a practice of discrimination by which those with lighter skin are treated more favorably than those with darker skin. Practice is a product of racism in the United States in that it upholds the white standards of beauty and benefits white people in the institutions of oppression. That's kind of like how they say this like Eurocentric form of beauty. Like if you have like white blood in you, that you're more desired in certain places. And colorism does exist. Racism, the individual, cultural, institutional belief in discrimination that systematically oppresses people of color. So, you know, they give different examples. Darker skinned people are paid less. There's a complete wage gap there. They're more likely to be suspended in high school. Okay, which can start a whole nother set of problems. Obviously, with policing, they're more likely to be, stopped and frisked when New York had their policies, or pulled over, of course. Driving while black, these are terms that exist in our lexicon, not because they just got pulled out of thin air, but because statistically this happens over and over. And also, darker skinned people are less likely to be listened to by doctors. So it's not just that, oh, life's a little tougher. We have people dying in our great United States of America at higher rates. The estimated national maternal mortality rate in the U.S. is 17 per 100,000, which is already higher than a lot of first world countries. We already have a problem with our healthcare system. But it's 43 per 100,000 live births for black women. Okay? So like 4 times or 3 times higher of a rate that black women are dying while giving birth in the United States of America. And why is that? It's different reasons. It's doctors not listening to black women. They're considered like that. They're when they have an objection to something, they're the angry black women trope. There's so many different issues that all come about, and it's nothing new. The paper bag test in the 19th and 20th century, the paper bag test often utilized black spaces in hiring of black people. If someone was the same color or lighter skinned than a paper bag, they would be allowed into the space or considered for hire. If they were any darker than a paper bag, they would not. So these biases get passed down. They get passed down. White people, colorism exists, and it does within black communities as well. Slavery. Slaves with lighter skin are assigned domestic tasks, while slaves with darker skins were forced to work outside in the fields. So it's one thing after another. Of course, it exists as well within Hollywood. You have to have, the darker skinned actors played the Somali pirates, and, the lighter skinned ones were the love interests. I mean, these things exist subliminally, and they just exist, folks. I've mentioned this colorism conversation before, but it's important to sort of educate ourselves and talk about it while we discuss these words, so we're not just hearing the word colorism and not exactly understanding what that means. It might not be the be-all, end-all issue here, but it's like a microaggression that exists within the greater story. So you've got Natasha, who's, whether the producers decided, whether Brendan and the producers, and whether this was all a pre-hashed storyline, we don't know for sure. But they decided Natasha was going to be the company man, the placeholder, she'll play sport, she'll play ball. She's going to be the one to bide her time there. And Brendan, of course, in the conversation said she had no one else viable, which may have been true after 5 weeks of the show. Yeah, maybe she has no one else viable because everyone's already gotten together and you have wasted her time. We don't know for sure. There's so many different factors in it. But even just admitting that out loud shows that he was sort of using Natasha subliminally or consciously to stay on the show, collect roses, and wait for Piper to show up. The question, of course, will be whether or not the actual producers were in on all of this. It almost seems all too convenient of a storyline to wonder if they weren't a part of this. You know what I mean? So let's get into the Bachelorettes. Now, I wanted to share all that info on Colorism before I shared their Instagram. And it goes without saying, follow these accounts. Follow these accounts because, teach the algorithms that you want different voices. It's, hey, look, follow my account. By all means, I'm obsessively making content every day. But these accounts come at us from a very unique and different set of life circumstances. One of which I've had certain privileges that I've had to never wonder about being followed through a 7-Eleven or wonder if a doctor's going to take me seriously or if I'm not getting the job because the color of my skin is not the appropriate level. These are wild thoughts that I haven't had to have on my shoulders and on my subconscious as I carry on through my life. So let's just, for the sake of peace within all of us, in the comment section, let's go easy and show boatloads of compassion and grace for issues some of us just never had to deal with. The Bachelorettes, while watching black women being violated, so I already read that first post on the main page. The taking advantage of a darker-skinned woman till the light-skinned one came around is triggering AF. Then to gaslight her into making her think he did her a favor is absolutely disgusting. I wish nothing but the worst for Brendan and Piper, Renice. All right, so let's play their Instagram stories. And again, these are such difficult conversations to have that I don't expect anybody to educate anyone else on these topics. Give people the grace to feel their emotions and understand that what you might just see as a simple like Brendan and Piper going on for new followers, to some people it's triggering because they've been passed over by someone else. They haven't been given a shot. And these layers sort of atrophy the soul over time. I mean, they must, right? Forming like an exoskeleton, we talk about this rigidity of like bitterness that exists, and rightfully so. Until the point where we all collectively kind of say, okay, let's just try our best to do a better job of acknowledging this all exists so we can just move forward and begin to pick up the pieces. If we're going to keep our heads in the sand, where do we go? Where do we go? We just continue to have the same tropes and storylines time and again here. So here we go. Let's start this post here. Popping out from our hole to let y'all know that the Discord is popping right now. Swipe up to subscribe to our Patreon to come through for live community commentary. Our Patreon homies are actual comedians. So Bachelorettes, by all means, support them. Put your money where your mouth is. Go join their Patreon. I don't know if I have their Venmo offhand, but we'll try to get that. Bachelor Data, I just want to say I so look forward to your content always, but specifically this week. That's what Bachelorette said. And of course, we jump over to Bachelor Data. They give their screen time. They did this work. They said they spent 5 to 7 hours compiling this data. Episode 6 featured screen time. Okay. Everyone's been saying, oh, we need more people of color, not just being on the show, but actual valuable screen time. So Bachelor Data does the work. Natasha gets the most screen time. In the episode where Natasha's the one who got played and ran over here. Natasha didn't get the most screen time because she's falling in love with somebody and they put her in a scenario in which she can flourish. She got the most screen time because the show is profiting off of sort of the drama that exists around her for no fault of her own. So keep that in mind. Not just screen. No, I know this would be a lot of work for Bachelor Data to do, but it's like, all right, now Bachelor Data, compile the screen time and then compile negative screen time, because that's what Natasha's getting. Negative in the sense that she did nothing wrong. Obviously, she's coming out looking great in this, 100,000 new followers, which is probably has to be the most ever. I don't think anyone's ever got 100,000 followers in an episode. It's just insane. That's several football stadiums worth of people coming in and being like, we like you. But the fact is, it all came at the expense of her soul, really. I mean, she's the one who got played with here. All right, here we go. Let's have a listen here to Bachelorettes. Oh, Rest in power. Here we go. Here, okay, so we're going to go through this whole list here. After all we've done said about colorism, exoticism, and fetishization, and the constant disrespect of brown and dark-skinned black women and more in media, are we playing games at the expense of Natasha and Piper, using a relationship we knew about to forward that what narrative for what and at what cost? This franchise really spent tonight saying we hate black women, so let's just pit them against each other with their chest. Sending love to Natasha and Piper tonight. That's all I got right now, and we got more. It seems folks may be misunderstanding us, so let's make something abundantly clear. Colorism as it persists on The Bachelor. Again, follow Bachelorettes and you'll get all this information. For those asking how colorism and its privileges manifest in this franchise and how it contributes to the blatant violation and disrespect of Natasha Parker. So if you have any questions, there's more literature. They are providing us. So here's the screen time discussion. We showed it in last video. This is Bachelor data showing all the different screen times. And let's click on Bachelorettes and hear what they have to say.
To be in rehearsal bright and early tomorrow, but I'm seeing that a lot of people are misunderstanding what I meant by seeing two black women be pit against one another. So let me clarify. Tonight, we watched the violation of a dark brown-skinned black woman
Natasha.
Off of the notion that she is less desirable, has less prospects, has less options to explore than a light-skinned black woman.
Light-skinned younger.
With more Eurocentric features.
Eurocentric.
I'm not saying
whiter
that Natasha came against Piper in any capacity. But what the narrative the show presented is that they're competition in the first place, and that Natasha is less desirable or not as appeasing as Piper would be. This doesn't even get into the production of it all. I don't even know what the fuck to call it. The planning, the premeditation, the lying. Who's who of it all, the light skin privilege that just decided to pop out, or even the fact that like they have been in an established relationship since April of 2021 and we all seem to be forgetting. And even with that, contractual obligations to be on this show, be damned.
You know, it's a great point too, and it begs the question, who was responsible for holding on to Piper? Like, they obviously wanted to like tear them apart and try to bring them back together.
The lack of willingness to challenge the blatant and utter disregard and disrespect of Natasha is not it. And I just wanted to clarify that for the people in our DM. Folks seem to be confused.
She's doing a great job of not being defensive to the people pushing her back. She's saying, look, if there's some miscommunication here, I'll continue to talk. I love this. I talked for 5 hours yesterday on my live streams. And even after that, I got just a couple messages from people going, so wait, you tell me to think X, Y, and Z? And I go, listen, you take a 5-hour conversation. You can't begin to tell me back in one sentence what I think about all this. It's complicated. But at the very least, you got people over here doing the Lord's work, willing to say, all right, if you're misunderstanding what I'm saying, take a seat and I'll explain it to you. We need more of this happening in the communication around all these difficult topics, saying, you know what? I hear what you're saying. You're misunderstanding what I'm saying. So let me just go in deeper. This is a good thing.
And that's okay. That's why I'm here to clarify.
There we go.
But at the end of the day, we still know for certain that this show is riddled and founded on the notion of white dominant culture and white supremacy, and largely dependent upon producer-led manipulation, preset storylines, premeditation at the expense of other contestants, and especially at the expense of contestants of color and their humiliation and their degradation.
Tajwan.
That to say, it does not excuse the behavior that we saw tonight in any capacity. I don't know why people would think my dark-skinned black ass would be out here doing that. Unless they have. But that's Instagram for you. Things get convoluted, misconstrued, and confused.
Wow.
But when we are calling in the violation and the disrespect, the blatant disregard of a woman of color, especially a darker brown-skinned black woman, of color on this franchise when they're already so few and far between. We want to assess every single layer that permits can't talk because I'm so frustrated and tired.
You're doing great.
That permits this behavior to happen and to exist. And for it to air. Full stop.
Full stop.
Good night.
Good night. Listen, this right here, okay? That right there. This is, join their Patreon, throw them a few bucks, whatever you can do. Buy them a Starbucks. Because this is the work when people say, people say, oh, what are you doing to change things? Education is what you do. You got to educate yourself before you put it to practical use. So everyone says, what is the work? Well, the work has a weird context. It's less what the work is and more what's the study material. This is the study material. Hearing voices about people saying, you have to understand, this isn't some sociology experiment or some psychology experiment where we just put 10 people on a beach and just share what happened. No, the foot is weighted on the scale in different directions, so manipulations are happening. Now, could the Bachelor producers have, had no idea that they were using Natasha as the pawn here for the story? I don't know. I can't read people's minds. But what we can do is listen to the people that say time in and time out that these issues keep on emerging. So when there are so few people of color on the show, the Bachelorettes and other, Instagram accounts and different people with platforms, podcasts, are going to use their message to line item, search by every grievance and say, here's another thing that's being used, like they said, as a blatant disregard for Natasha, who, by the way, seems like a great person. All in all, she handled this situation well. She said, I don't want hate for anybody else. She's getting a ton of new followers. Maybe she'll be the next Bachelorette. I would love to see that. We'll have to see how it all plays out. Leave a comment. Just save a ton of room for grace and for understanding and for learning and growth. Because look, that's free. This is all free. We can learn and evolve and become better for it. Let me know what you guys think. We'll have live streams coming tonight. We have tons of content coming out. So make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and we'll talk to you later. Bye now.